And welcome to Cricketomania. The Supreme Court case with the whole IPL drama is progressed. Ayaz Memon is with me here. Ayaz, the Supreme Court has named some players and other names have emerged as well. The whole matter seems to have been pushed in some ways. Does that mean that the matter is resolved, as in resolved in as much as what we were expecting from the Supreme Court to do from the Mudgal committee report, or is there something more to happen?
I think they've deferred it. What they've done is they've revealed 7 names, 2 inadvertently. The players mentioned, or three of them inadvertently. They actually wanted to kind of, they've actually inquired from the non-players section, which is Nivasan, Sundar Raman, Raj Kundra, people who are associated either as BCCI officials or franchise owners.
Right.
I don't think they've indicted them. They've asked them themselves before the
give
court.
them this thing by November 20th. Okay,
November
so
20th.
Ayaz, let's take a few steps back. Let's walk us through what we are looking at and why are we at the situation where the Supreme Court of the country is involved in investigating alleged corruption.
So I think,
fixing more specifically.
yes,
fixing.
I think this whole scam, came to the fore about a year and a half back. Then the BCCI instituted its own panel, which was rejected. Nobody was happy with the BCCI's inquiry into its own affairs. In a sense, BCCI gave a clean chit to everybody associated with it. So the Mudgal panel was appointed by the Supreme Court. The Mudgal panel, after submitting an interim report, said that we haven't been able to finish our inquiry and we need more time. Then they asked for a further 2 months, and that's where we are.
Very quickly, tell us about that match or the set of matches where this whole problem started.
I think the key match which is coming through is a match between Mumbai. It's a match involving Rajasthan, and there's another match involving Chennai Super Kings. Those are the two, and of course there's one match which is also with I think it's with Mumbai.
Right.
But they were playing in Mumbai, Rajasthan.
Right.
So there have been telephone transcripts of conversations which have happened. And I think, because they were going on for some other, criminal activity.
Right, and that's how they found it. Right. And our biggest question that we've been asking is that we should, do the investigation, get the names out, and be done with it. And that doesn't seem to have happened, at least so far.
Yes, I think there are two.
If you look at the whole thing.
I see there are 2 points of view, 2 schools of thought. One is that name the guys and be damned. Why is the Supreme Court sitting on the names? Why should they not be telling us all the names? The other point of view is that the Supreme Court is actually not perhaps convinced about, by the name and shame policy may not be what they feel is the right thing to do. So where they found enough ground for further inquiry, with say Srinivasan or Sundaraman,
okay,
and they might release the names of the players in the future.
Right. Okay. So we've got 2 other journalists, post journalists, for joining us. Debashish Dutta joins us, and as well as Abhishek Dubey, cricket journalist actually. Debashish, tell us, how do you see this Supreme Court case at this point or at this juncture, with some of these names being revealed and some sense of a future course of action?
I mean, it's a little too early because somebody is trying to swim against the wave. So we have to patiently wait and see how the ball turns. But one thing is sure, the planning what BCCI had at the moment shall have to be returned. And we all have to wait till Prime Minister comes back from Australia. Only then the scenario would be clear. But before that, it's anybody's game. It's just kite flying is going on.
Okay, so should we wait for the Prime Minister to return?
Well, the Prime Minister till very recently was part of the BCCI because he was the Gujarat Cricket Association president.
Yeah, but
now
I'm assuming
it's Amit Shah. I'm not sure whether the Prime Minister has or will intervene in this matter. I think he'll leave it to the Supreme Court to decide. I think the Supreme Court needs to. I mean, the Chief Justice is there. Justices Thakur and Khalifullah need to take a call whether the names need to be made public just to satisfy everybody's feeling that something is being investigated or not, or say no, we should only let those people out names who we think are maybe directly indicted.
Okay, so let's look at the 3 names that have emerged so far. One is of course India all-rounder Stuart Binney. Second is West Indies leg spinner Samuel Badri and former England batsman Ovesh Shah.
Correct.
So what do we make of this?
So they are from the two different teams that we've been talking about.
So there's no surprise.
Rajasthan Royals. No, it's not about surprise. In fact, all three names are a surprise.
Correct. Okay.
You know, because everybody expected some other names and or many names. These seem like very small bit players in that sense, because none of these players have been absolutely regulars even in the IPL teams, barring maybe Stuart Binney.
The emerging of the names at this point, does it mean that they're guilty?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
Not
So it
at
just
all.
means that they've been spoken to.
In fact, the court was, I think, a little apologetic about it, saying that these names have come out inadvertently. They shouldn't have come out at all.
Okay. So these are people who've been examined in the court. So then, where?
I think a lot of players have been spoken to. See, my own surmise is that there are transcripts of conversations between various people. So, Gurunath Mayappan and Vindu Dara Singh is one such conversation.
Right.
But subsequent investigations may have led to many conversations in which names have cropped up.
Right.
In what context, we don't know.
Right.
They are investigating all names that have come up. So I think the court may have taken a position. Just the fact that a name is being discussed does not necessarily mean a player has been into hanky-panky. I think that's really the position. My feeling is.
Okay. So Debashish, can I come back to you? What's your sense from the way the investigation has progressed, from when it comes to the image of the game itself? I know this is a question we ask periodically, but in the context that we are finally trying to fix the image of the game itself, does this mean that we've seen any progress?
Well, they have been, it's a huge issue, and they have been taking time, and we have to grant them. Even Supreme Court also given them this amount of time, and now we hear that they require some more time to talk to Sundar, Mr. Srinivasan, Raj Kundra and company. So, which also suggests that while they were drawing the conclusion, they need to recheck before. I mean, there are few names. That doesn't mean that they will be punished. But ultimately, Srinivasan's name has come. This is very, very surprising, and that's why I mentioned that whether the political influence will take BCCI into trouble or not, because on 20th of November, everybody was set in BCCI that Srinivasan will contest and he will become the next president. And as a result of that, now, according to the current scenario, I'm sure that something is cooking behind the curtains to put him into trouble, and the political influence will be required to throw him out. That's the reason I said that we all have to wait till our respected Prime Minister comes back from Australia.
Intrigue surrounding the BCCI chairperson.
Of that there is no doubt.
Of that there is no
a lot
doubt,
of drama
and there is no
a lot
end
of
of
intrigue,
it.
and there's no end to that.
So how do we tie that in, or does that tie this into today's development?
Look, I think perhaps it's reached a position where even the Supreme Court, justices in their understanding are maybe on the verge of concluding. They have to pass a final order. It can't go on endlessly. I think we are at the crux whether they feel that yes, beyond maybe 2-3 people who have been directly kind of investigated and indicted by the police, are more people involved. Is there a face behind the mask kind of a situation?
Right. Okay. So let's get a view on that. Abhishek Dubey joins us. Abhishek, what's your sense? I mean, today's revealing of names, which in some ways is a surprise and also not a surprise, is that a step forward? Are we reaching somewhere in this whole thing, or should we hold and wait till the next round? Abhishek, we lost you there. We'll come back to you in a second. Ayaz, let's ask the other question. Now, the BCCI AGM has been postponed by 4 weeks, right? What could have been decided at this AGM, or what were the points that were lined up for discussion?
The restoration of Srinivasan as the BCCI chief.
Okay, so that's the key.
That was the biggest thing on the agenda.
Right.
And the minutes have to be passed. You see, everything is being held in abeyance. It can't be held endlessly. Ultimately, it's BCCI has always claimed that it's a private body. It's governed by, and there is a legality involved even to a private body. You can't not have an AGM for 5 years.
Correct.
So I think they're also running out of time, and therefore also N. Srinivasan to come back to the BCCI, become its president. Because if he is not the BCCI president, it could open up another Pandora's box.
Because of and then the ICC and then so on and so
Yes.
forth. Yeah. Okay. So let's come back to this inadvertent revealing of these 3 names. Should we read something more into it?
No, what I'm reading is that there are, it's not that there were no names. There was some, kind of talk, oh, there are no names, people are saying 12, 13. Maybe there are 13, maybe there are 16 names, of which 3 have been, whatever has happened inadvertently has been released. But none of these are the big guns that people were expecting.
Who are the big guns that people were expecting?
Big guns are the big players from, several teams in the franchise, so many big names who play in the IPL. It would be highly speculative to name who's there. But we know that people have been contacted, they've been investigated, they've been talked to and found out. Whether it is routine checking, you might somebody wants to investigate me, they might call you and ask that he was here in this office and what was he doing. So it could be that kind of routine examination.
Right.
We don't know.
Okay. Debashish, what should be the way forward now?
Way forward means now we have to wait. Why we have to wait? Because it has spread or it has taken a bigger shape. So till Supreme Court gives the final verdict, we all have to wait. Because BCCI cannot take the decision now that Supreme Court is wrong. In fact, Mr. Srinivasan has openly said this before that why can't we make it public? So which means he is quite confident nothing will be found. But in spite of that, Supreme Court is saying that they need to talk to him again, they need to talk to Raj Kundra, they need to talk to Mr. Sudaraman. So it will take time. But I think with the passage of time, we have lost so much of time. Now let it take some more time, but clear it finally. Not like a soap opera. It continues weeks after weeks.
And that's really my next question. Let me put that to you, Ayaz. What is getting affected because of this whole delay? I mean, we've asked this question before, but let's ask that again in today's context.
I think people are on tenterhooks, especially those in the ecosystem. Whether they are office bearers, franchise owners, players concerned. Some of these players may be aspiring for a place in the World Cup squad. Or they may be on the tour to Australia. We don't know.
But would that be affected? Assuming there were some strictures on their IPL roles, would that be affect their other tours?
If there are strictures, and what kind of strictures? We have to wait and see what the court decides in the order. A stricture by itself can just be a warning saying don't talk to so and so kind of people, or it serious. We don't know.
Okay.
So I'm saying that people are on tenterhooks. But essentially, I think it's to do with Mr. N. Srinivasan's position, because if he comes back with virtually a clean chit from the Supreme Court as the BCCI president, then there is no hassle for him even in his ICC chairmanship. If there's a problem here, then that could become a problem.
Okay. Debashish, back to your question. Is anything in the larger realm of cricket or the universe of cricket being affected as we speak because of all of this emerging, not getting resolved, delays and so on?
No, I don't think so. But what I want, let Dhoni and company play peacefully in Australia. So before that, it should have been solved. Which is because everybody is suspecting somebody else that he is involved. Let it clear everybody and then let us start afresh.
We've got Australia coming up, and
yes.
Barely weeks from now.
And actually, it's not just Indian players who are in tenterhooks. We are assuming it's only about Indian players. In the list of 13, 14 players.
Right. There are international players as well.
International players here. You've got 2 international players already in the names mentioned. So there is a whole cricketing world universe which could be on tenterhooks. There are physios, there are coaches, there are managers. It's it's an international melee that you've got there when the IPL takes place. So I think. Much as we all want this matter to be resolved, but it can't be in a sense a knee-jerk decision, which I'm sure the Supreme Court won't take, which is why they are taking their own time.
Right. So early September, the Supreme Court gave the Mudgal Committee 2 months to finish the investigation.
November 10th was the day fixed for the final order,
right,
which got extended till November 14th, which is as we speak today.
But that's
now,
order.
It's not the final order. Now they've issued these notices to these people.
And said come back by 20th.
Come back by 20th, and they will decide on 24th.
So we're saying that 24th is the last day. There's
unless the court decides that they need more time.
Okay. But then that is not in the spirit of fixing a deadline, isn't it?
But the court, I think the deadline can't be determined by us. It's also a dispensation of justice.
Right, okay. And that must always grind as it should in its normal course. Last question, Debashish. I mean, you did point out that the Australian tour is looming, and therefore it would have been good if things were resolved, because obviously all these things hanging in the air leaves or creates a problem for those in the sort of cricketing ecosystem. If you had a if you had a way in this, how would you accelerate this, or what do you think can be done to resolve this, apart from, of course, the Supreme Court doing its own job?
We can BCCI or some common platform. They can request the Supreme Court that nobody from the current Indian team is involved, because the team has already been announced. So if they say no, so I think the Ayaz or Dhonis or Kohlis will be able to concentrate much more for their game. But if I think that anything can happen, so why they are also spoiling the spirit of the game within the country? And everybody, Tom, Dick and Harry is suspected. He is involved. That is not all. So if our priority is that India should do well in foreign countries, if that be the case, they should openly come out and say that no, I do not find anybody in the current Indian team who are involved in this nonsense. So let them go and play. Unless they want to clear it or they keep it pending for months after months. So I think, like Ayaz just said, that 24th, yes, they might ask for some more time. So it will depend how it goes. But if I'm a cricket lover, I would always want that my team should go with keep their head up and with proper mind to play only cricket in Australia.
It's basically they should be following the gentleman's game that.
Yeah, I think, but. Understand the quandary of the I would imagine the quandary of the Supreme Court also is that it's been a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And it's a panel appointed by the Supreme Court. There is a former justice sitting there and doing it. It's not some other investigating officer from the BCCI or some ombudsman sitting there. I think that they want to be completely assured that the investigations have been thorough, and what order they are going to pass does not affect the sport adversely for no reason, or players, just on a kind of insinuation. I think this is my reading of the situation.
Okay. Right. So, as things stand, we recongregate on the 24th, hoping that there will be some kind of a decision, and we are able to put this behind and focus on Australia.
Maybe even on the 20th.
Maybe even on the 20th. We never know.
We will never know.
Thank you very much, Ayaz. Thank you, Debashish and Abhishek, for joining us. That's all we have time for on Cricket Mania today. We'll be back later in the week. Thanks for watching.